Think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
I respect everything everyone is saying to me, and I don't want to fake apologize. I was very upset about that people are misunderstood what I was saying. And it's not good for anyone. And it's not good for poor folks. It is not good for y'all because you become slave fodder. It's not a good thing. It's not good for women because you are now being told and dictated to, and you can't say anything because they, throw you in a jail or whatever.
The courtroom wasn't built for drama, but today it was overflowing with it. Whoopi Goldberg sat frozen at the defendant's table, her body rigid beneath the harsh glare of the fluorescent lights. There were no cameras, no bursts of laughter, no applause signs glowing above, just a heavy silence and a courtroom packed with reporters, lawyers, and the crushing tension of a case that blindsided everyone. She appeared far smaller than the icon the world knew. Her shoulders drooped, her eyes dimmed with exhaustion, and her hands clung tightly to the edge of the table. This time she wasn't guiding the conversation. She was drowning in it. Directly across the room sat a woman half her age, calm, composed, unmoving, Karoline Leavitt. Her face showed no smugness, no anxiety, only a piercing calm, like someone who had already seen the wreckage coming and braced for the impact. She wasn't there to perform. She came for justice. It all started with a simple invitation to a daytime talk show. Months ago, Leavitt appeared on The View, a show infamous for its sharp-tongued debates and fiery tone. She wasn't the first conservative to face the firing squad on daytime TV, and she thought she was ready for the heat. At first, it played out exactly as expected. Sarcastic quips, dismissive glances, and questions dripping with bias. But Leavitt didn't flinch. Not once.
People got very, very, very angry and still are angry. I mean, I'm getting, all of the mail from folks and the very real anger because people feel very different.
Then came the ambush. Joy Behar openly mocked her credentials. Sonny Hostin brushed her off as just another privileged voice. Whoopi Goldberg leaned in with force, accusing her of simply repeating political scripts. The audience roared with laughter, loud, cruel, and unrelenting. But what no one expected was silence. Karoline Leavitt didn't fire back. She didn't bite the bait or raise her voice. She calmly answered every question, finished the segment, and walked out of the studio without even blinking. And exactly 1 week later, ABC got slapped with a lawsuit worth millions. The accusations were explosive: defamation of character, targeted harassment, deliberate damage to her public reputation. Leavitt's legal team didn't come to play. They came armed with proof. Full transcripts, archived emails, internal production notes. According to the complaint, this wasn't an interview. It was a premeditated ambush. At first, the mainstream media rolled their eyes. Just another headline in a sea of political drama. But then the documents started leaking, and suddenly everything changed. This wasn't a publicity stunt. It was a legal masterstroke. Her lawyers unveiled chilling messages from The View's own producers. One note coldly stated, "She's young. Apply heat early. Makes for a better reaction." Another chilling memo instructed hosts to disrupt flow, force her off script. Inside ABC's offices, panic set in. Staff scrambled behind closed doors. Was this just backlash, or had they crossed a legal line they couldn't walk back from? As the trial kicked off, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just courtroom drama anymore.
If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just...
This wasn't about one woman feeling offended. It was about what happens when a massive media platform uses its influence not to engage, but to corner someone into silence. On day one of the trial, the prosecution wasted no time. They went straight to the footage. Clips from Karoline Leavitt's appearance lit up the courtroom monitor. The interruptions, the sneering laughs, the thinly veiled contempt. No voiceovers, no cuts, just the raw, unfiltered reality. Then came the gut punch. In a pre-show audio recording, Whoopi's voice could be heard saying, "Let's see if this one can handle the heat." The air in the courtroom instantly thickened. Leavitt didn't flinch. She sat quietly while her legal team built the case, layer by layer. And the evidence? It wasn't just tough journalism, it was premeditated. The show's internal notes exposed a pattern that went far beyond editorial slant. It was clear targeting. The defense tried brushing it all off. They called it banter, opinion, protected speech. But Leavitt's attorneys pointed to something far more damning. Intent. Intent to ridicule. Intent to break her down. Intent to push her into a viral meltdown. And in a court of law, intent isn't just words, it's power. It changes everything. Day 2 started not with the usual quiet of a courtroom, but with a heavy loaded silence. The kind that settles in when people begin to grasp that what they thought was entertainment was actually something much darker. Every seat was filled. Reporters jammed in shoulder to shoulder. Crews outside capturing every second. Even competitors from rival shows slipped in, trying not to be noticed. This was no longer just about a lawsuit. It had become the center of national conversation. This wasn't The View anymore. It was Judgment Day. The prosecution struck fast again. Their next witness was a media expert in bias and framing, calm, poised, and holding a small thumb drive packed with impact. She didn't come to speculate. She came with hard facts.
Raised a few eyebrows using the Bible to support the idea of kids getting gender change surgeries. Take a look.
This is a party that says we believe in parents' rights. You're telling me that as a parent, I'm not smart enough to decide if my child and I need to have gender affirming. Our doctors are not involved. What is going? So I can't decide what my kid reads. I can't decide for my child what my child says is going on. You're telling me your beliefs, and they keep saying it, and I keep saying, what Bible are you reading? Because God was really clear. Very clear.
I would say this is a new low for The View, but it isn't. They've gone way lower before. It's certainly on brand for The View.
Over 300 episodes of The View were dissected, frame by frame. Every guest interaction, every interruption, every smug laugh, followed by thunderous applause, and from that overwhelming pile of footage, a damning pattern rose, loud and clear. Conservative women under 35 weren't just guests, they were targets. They were interrupted 3 times more than their liberal counterparts. They were brushed off, mocked, and rarely given time to defend or explain their views. This wasn't spirited debate, it was theater, and ABC's public relations team? Completely silent. Then came the knockout blow. A heat map appeared on the courtroom screen. It showed speaking time, tone, and how hosts reacted, all broken down by political alignment. It didn't resemble a talk show. It looked like a blueprint for ambush. The jury sat still, wide-eyed and speechless. But the prosecution wasn't done yet. An anonymous witness took the stand, hidden behind a privacy screen. Voice digitally distorted. A former junior producer on The View, subpoenaed to speak. The courtroom leaned in. There was a vibe, the witness began. They weren't planning a conversation. They were planning a takedown. They wanted that moment, the viral clip that would humiliate her. The room gasped as tension spiked. Was that an official order? The prosecutor asked. No, said the voice. No one said it directly, but we all knew. The meeting tone, the jokes, it was obvious. The defense leapt up. Objection, speculation. But the judge allowed it to stand. And then came the blow that left the courtroom stunned, a chat log from the night before the segment aired. A producer had typed, "Better bring popcorn. She's gonna cry by minute 5. But Karoline Leavitt didn't cry. Not once. She didn't even blink. And that's exactly what made her case even more powerful. She didn't lash out. She didn't post a video or run to the press. She simply went home, called her lawyers, and built her case. Calmly, methodically, and with absolute conviction. And across the courtroom, Whoopi Goldberg looked shaken. Her posture slumped. Her lawyers whispered furiously, flipping through their notes in panic.
Dang, Rowan, I couldn't do that at 27. No nonsense, straight to the point, courage, detail.
And though Whoopi kept her face pointed forward, her eyes started to drift, as if she were reliving every single thing she'd ever said on air. Her defense team scrambled to argue she wasn't responsible. She wasn't a producer. She didn't write the questions or shape the tone. She just showed up and spoke her truth. But the prosecution was ready for that excuse. They played a chilling off-air recording, captured just moments before Karoline Leavitt's interview began. Whoopi's voice rang out again. Let's not go easy on her. She wants to play grown-up politics. Let's give her the full dose. Then came the laughter. Another voice chimed in with a jab. She won't last 5 minutes in court. The audio cut suddenly. The courtroom was silent. The jury didn't move. Leavitt didn't blink. But Whoopi? She let out the faintest breath as her eyes dropped to her lap. The prosecution didn't say a word. They didn't have to. That one clip said it all. This wasn't off-the-cuff commentary. This was a takedown, crafted behind the scenes. Outside the courtroom, the world was catching fire with conversation. Social media exploded. Hashtags like "or hold the view accountable" and "or trial of the view" shot to the top of trending lists around the globe. And it wasn't just conservatives speaking up. Centrists and even progressives began voicing concern. This isn't about left or right anymore, one journalist tweeted. It's about media power being used to humiliate, not engage. Inside ABC headquarters, the panic was real. A leaked internal memo showed that ad buyers were backing out, fast. Big-name sponsors were quietly threatening to walk away. Some local stations that aired The View had already requested reruns be pulled until further notice. By the end of that second courtroom day, the unthinkable had become a real possibility. The future of The View was now hanging by a thread. ABC executives had activated full-blown crisis mode. There were rumors of emergency reviews, possible host suspensions, and even whispers of temporary cancellation. The word exit strategy had already appeared in multiple high-level emails. And through the storm, through the headlines, through the chaos, Karoline Leavitt said nothing at all.
They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right. ABC should wake up. They just paid $15 million to President Trump's future library. That's a great thing for the American people.
No public statement. No victory smirk. Just the same calm presence Karoline Leavitt brought to court every single morning. Her only accessories? A plain notebook and a pen? Because she wasn't there to win applause, she was there to build a case. And now that case had outgrown the courtroom walls. It was rewriting the rules of the media world, live and in real time. By the third day, this trial no longer felt like a simple legal battle. It felt like a national reckoning. Inside, the mood had shifted. The tension was thick and sharp. Every juror leaned forward in their seat. The press gallery had doubled in size, crammed with journalists who could feel the weight of history pressing down. This wasn't just about Karoline Leavitt. It wasn't just about The View. It was about media power, and whether anyone still had the courage to call it out. That morning, Whoopi Goldberg entered the courtroom surrounded by her lawyers. Her shoulders slumped. The fierce, witty, confident presence America knew from television was gone. Her walk was heavy, her mouth set in a grim, bloodless line. She didn't look like a star anymore. She looked like someone being dragged beneath a tidal wave. Then came Karoline Leavitt, graceful, still, and unshaken. No team, no fanfare, just quiet focus in a neutral-toned dress. Her face showed no drama, only unwavering clarity. Observers had started calling her unshakable. Critics said it was media training. Supporters swore it was conviction. Either way, it was working. Then came a surprise. The first witness that day? A former ABC public relations executive who had left just before the storm hit. She wasn't angry, but she didn't hold back. "We weren't trying to reinvent the show," she said firmly. "We were trying to control the story." She described mounting pressure from producers to push harder into partisanship during election seasons. Segment ideas that treated guests fairly? Rejected. Flat out. And when it came to Karoline Leavitt? She was handpicked, not for a fair interview, but to be used as disruption, as bait for viral chaos.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
Guests like Karoline were chosen for conflict, not conversation. She was never there to be heard, the former ABC executive said. She was there to be dismissed. A ripple of shock moved through the courtroom. The defense tried to pivot, talking about editorial freedom, blurred lines between journalism and entertainment, and the show's reputation for bold commentary. But it was too late. The damage was done. The message landed with force. If Karoline was ridiculed, it wasn't by accident, it was by design. Then came the moment that changed everything. The prosecution unveiled unseen footage, raw, unedited, never intended for public eyes. Security tapes, pre-show clips, no studio filters, just the brutal truth. One clip showed the panel during makeup. Joy Behar joked, "Get her flustered early. It makes better TV." Sunny Hostin smiled. "She won't know what hit her." Off camera, a producer said, "Keep the audience hot. They'll clap on cue." Another clip, seconds before airtime, caught Whoopi whispering, "This girl's going to melt when we push her. Let's have some fun." The courtroom froze. This wasn't a debate. It was a setup. A performance designed to humiliate, planned, rehearsed, and sold to millions. Whoopi's lawyer jumped in with objections. Editing, context, tone. But the judge didn't budge. The footage stayed, and the jury had seen enough. By midday, the courtroom wasn't tense. It was crystal clear. This wasn't about one bad joke. It was about manufactured mockery. Karoline? She didn't react. Not once. She watched herself be interrupted, laughed at, minimized, and remained still. But Whoopi reacted. Her hands shook as she reached for a tissue. Her eyes stayed locked on the table. And in that moment, it hit her. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a mirror. And the face staring back was hers. Outside, media headlines flipped overnight. Networks once dismissive were now calling out applause for cruelty. Sponsors pulled out. Affiliates demanded sweeping reviews. ABC was hemorrhaging trust. One leaked email said it all. "This may cost us the show." And then came the final blow. The prosecution's last exhibit, a single-page internal memo from a senior ABC producer, stamped and dated before Karoline's appearance. It read, "Target confirmed. Push until she breaks."